Some stories belong not merely to history, but to the conscience of a nation. There came a time in Ghana when power overshadowed justice and silence became a nation's survival. The year was 1982. Ghana stood under military rule. Fear moved quietly through the streets of Accra. People whispered instead of speaking freely. Trust in institutions was fading. Yet, even in that uncertain time, one institution still stood as the final hope of the ordinary citizen: the courts. The judiciary represented something greater than politics. It represented fairness, reason, and the belief that no power, no matter how strong, stood above the law. But on the 9th of June 30th, 1982, that belief came under attack. Under the cover of darkness, 3 High Court judges and a retired army officer, Major Sam Akwa, were abducted from their homes. Justice Cecilia Cranton-Addo, a brilliant judge admired for her intellect, courage, and clarity of thought. Justice Frederick Poku-Sarkodie, a respected servant of the law who was described as one who was not afraid to explore and expand the frontiers of the law. Justice Kojo Adjei-Sam Esq, a man devoted to justice and duty. He was described as a judge who showed so much industry, sat for long hours, and showed a lot of promise. They were taken from their families, from their safety, with no clue where they were being taken to. The nation's worst fears became reality when it was announced that the 3 High Court judges and the retired army officer had been brutally murdered at the Bundasi military range. Their bodies were set ablaze in a cruel attempt to erase the evidence of that horrific act. But that night, even the heavens wept. Rain poured relentlessly, quenching the fire before their bodies could be completely consumed, ensuring that the truth was not buried in ashes. Why were they killed? Was it vengeance? Was it fear of an independent judiciary? Decades later, the nation still wrestles with these questions, despite the report of the Special Investigations Board, which led to the prosecution of certain persons. What remains undeniable is that 4 lives were lost and the rule of law itself was wounded that night. The murders shocked the nation. The legal fraternity mourned deeply. Judges became afraid. Lawyers fell silent, and for a moment, the judiciary itself seemed vulnerable. The robe of a judge, once a symbol of honor, had suddenly become a target. As years passed, efforts to retrace the story of June 30th, 1982 led back to the places where history is meant to be preserved, to the archives, where the hope remained that somewhere among ancient shelves and forgotten records lay the pages that once chronicled a nation's grief. But the shelves were silent. The archives had no publications for the year 1982. The search then led to the archives of the National Broadcaster, GBC, in the hope that time had spared some visual record of those events. Yet, it encountered another loss, with reports indicating that portions of the corporation's historical archives had been lost following a devastating fire years ago. The photographs may have faded, the footage may have been lost, but the memory remains. Today, within the premises of Ghana's Supreme Court, the Martyrs still stand, not in voice, not in flesh, but in memory. They stand not merely as stone and sculpture, but as a national conscience, calling every judge, every lawyer, and every citizen to remember that the rule of law was once defended with blood. 44 years on, Ghana's legal fraternity celebrates the martyrs of June 30th. We remember not only how they died, but what they lived for. For the martyrs of June 30th did not merely leave behind memories, they left behind a responsibility to defend justice, to protect the truth, and to ensure that their sacrifice is never forgotten. May the souls of Justice Cecilia Kranting Addo, Justice Kojo Adjei-Sam Esq, Justice Poku Sarkodie, and Major Sam Akwa continue to rest in peace.